In this video, we're going to talk about connecting up the Pioneer DJ control system via TCNet to MagicQ consoles. This is supported on the 250M obviously, as you see behind me, but also our current range of MagicQ consoles, the 500, 500M, the compact consoles, 50, 70, 80, and of course MagicQ PC systems. What this allows me to do, as you can see on my 250 behind me, is get in the track data. This is our audio window and you can see the waveform of my track. I can see the name and title of the audio track being played on my decks by my DJ. I can see the BPM data, and I can use that BPM data for timing of effects, chases, etc. on the console. I can also see how far through the track and which is the active deck. The active deck is shown in green at the top of the window. So let's look at how this is all connected up. If we move over to our Pioneer decks over here, I've got myself behind a simple unmanaged network switch, and I've simply connected my decks and my mixer into this switch. Now you'll probably find your DJ's probably doing this already. So what I've then done is I've taken a single cable out of this, and I've taken it and connected it to my laptop here. The laptop is running the free TCNet ProDJLink Bridge app, which is available from the Pioneer website. Once you've got that app installed and running, you can see my red cable here connected to the onboard network port of my laptop. To then get the data out of this system into the console, I'm running this into a ControlNet network on my console. The reason I'm doing that is to allow me to separate my lighting data. So here I've got myself my B4 ArtNet node, which is taking my lighting data out, so either ArtNet or ACN. Now this is connected the node to the 4-port switch directly on the back of the console. What I want to do here is separate the lighting data, so I've got myself a secondary control network. On the back of the console, I've got myself a USB network adapter here, which is connected to another network adapter on this laptop. So the laptop has two network adapters. In fact, I'm using another USB network adapter here. This is simply just to create another network. So if you're on a PC with two network cards, of course you can use that. It doesn't matter if it's a USB network or whatever it might be. So I'm now just going to connect this USB network adapter back up to my console like so here. Once I've got this connected up to my console, this is now acting as my secondary network interface for control data only. So I'm not sending any of the ArtNet, ACN, etc. data across to my control system over here. So let's start back over the decks and work our way back to the console and look at all of the settings involved once you've connected all of this up. So over on the decks, I haven't really done any network settings at all. I've just plugged it in and away it goes. And then go back to the laptop. And again, I haven't really done any network settings here on the laptop. I've left my network adapters to auto-assign their IP address from the network. That's a change from how we'd normally tell you to set things up if you're connecting a console to a PC for a visualizer. Normally we'd be telling you to go here, to go into Control Panel, to go to your Network and Internet Settings window, and look at your network adapters and set static IPs. And just to show you, I haven't set any static IPs on either of these networks. If I go to Properties, look at the IPv4 settings, you can see I'm obtaining the IP address automatically on both of the adapters. I'll go to this adapter as well, Properties, IPv4, and it's set to obtain IP address automatically. So that is your kind of out-of-box settings that you'd get when you first plug into a new network. Now, of course, if you have been connecting your console to your PC for visualizer, you'll need to change back from using the following IP address to obtain automatically if you're going to set it up in the way I've got here. So this laptop's got two networks running on it. One network is my connection to my decks, so it's got the decks and the mixer connected. The other network is going to my console. I've already pre-installed the free ProDJLink Bridge app, which I say you can get from the Pioneer website. And you can see at the bottom here, it's seeing my two decks and my mixer. They've gone green to show they're detected. Now this app has two views to it. You've got the ProDJLink side of it and the TCNet side. The ProDJLink side is of course the connection to the decks, and the TCNet is the getting data out to my console. You can have these all on the same network, but we do advise to separate these networks up. Of course, the reason we do that is because we don't want to be the one responsible if we've interfered with our DJ system. We don't know what else he might be trying to run on that network. So we go to ProDJLink, and you can see here you can choose your network interfaces. The 169.254 interface is the one connected to my decks here. Interface 2, the 192, is the one going to my console. So I've selected my network here, which the decks are connected to. If I go to link devices, you can see it's seeing my two decks and the mixer there, and I know they're connected because they're green at the bottom already. Now if I go to the TCNet side, this is the side that's sending data to my console. And I've selected here my network address, which is 192.168.0.214. Now at this point it's important to say how the laptop is getting this IP address. My console, I've set this up in the ControlNet network to give out IP addresses. Let me show you where that is. If I go to Setup, and I go to View Settings, and I go to Network, you've got your normal IP address at the top of the window, which here is set to 2004. That's connected via the 4-port switch to my B4. But I've got my secondary control network, which is here, my ControlNet mode, ControlNet IP address, ControlNet subnet mask, and ControlNet firewall. You can see my ControlNet mode, I've set that to DHCP server. My console is acting as a DHCP server, giving out IP addresses to devices on my network. Now, in your setup, if maybe between your ControlNet and your laptop, you're connecting to part of a managed network, it might already have a DHCP server active already, in which case you'd probably want to then have this setting, ControlNet mode, set to dynamic, so it's getting the IP address from your system, if you want to. But I'm setting mine to DHCP server. You can see the IP 192.168.0.250 for my console. And you can see over this side, it's given out an IP address 192.168.0.214 to my PC here, because I've not set a static IP, it's just automatic. So I've chosen that network adapter, and if I go to TCNet devices, it can see my MagicQ console here. Now in terms of setting this up on the console and connecting to the DEX, I've got my ControlNet network. Worth mentioning again, you can connect this to your main lighting network should you want to on the back of the console, but again we do recommend splitting that data out. We go to our MIDI timecode tab, and under MIDI timecode you've got your DJ settings at the bottom of the window here. So first off you want to turn on TCNet, which is a setting here. Turn TCNet on, and then we can connect to up to 4 different decks, so you can have your DJ with all 4 decks on the system if you want. In my setup here I've just got the 2, and it should then see the decks that you've got connected. So I can go TCNet deck 1 and hit my box here, TCNet deck 2, and I'm now connected up to my mixer. If I open up the audio window on the console by doing Alt and Page, which is the audio window, and that shortcut works on all of our current consoles, Alt and Page to open up the audio window, you can see here is my 2 decks with the audio view. If I go back to my decks over here and restart the tracks and play them on the console, you can now see my decks are spinning. If I come on this side and I stop one of the decks, you can see if I scratch there, you can see the active deck. If I move my crossfader, this active deck would move to show me which deck is currently active. You can see the BPM for currently active tracks. So you can see this track here is running around 140 BPM. See the time and of course the track data. This is real-time updating, so be able to see your DJ as he loads different tracks into the decks. You can see those, preview those upcoming. Of course you can move this window onto an external monitor if you wanted and use it as your preview window running live in your show. But most importantly, we've got this BPM data and we can now use that within MagicQ for retiming things like chases and effects. How we do that is if we go to a chase that I recorded earlier and go into its options, so we go to the Audio DJ tab. Under audio channel, we can change that from energy, which is using normally the audio input on the console, and we could set that to either lock to one of our 4 decks, or we can have it to audio input BPM, which is now taking the BPM from the active deck. So in my case, that's the left-hand deck at the moment. And then I can choose the function. So I could say audio bumps go / effects, and now when I run my chase here, the BPM is going to run that timing of my chase from there. Now this does work for effects as well, so if I had an effect in a Q stack, it would be bumping through and setting the BPM for that effect based off the timing that's coming into my console. If you have a Q stack, or maybe a position Q stack, so Q1 is a circle effect, Q2 is a tilt effect, various different position effects on a Q stack that you want to manually step through, when you set the audio bumps go / effects option, if your Q contains an effect, it won't bump go. It will just retime the effect, allowing you to manually choose which cue and which effect you're running. So that's how you can set up and configure the Pioneer DJ control systems with our MagicQ consoles.